Hello, this is a presentation by Family First Legal on third party and de facto custody in Maryland. This presentation will provide you with an overview of the difference between third party and de facto parents, the standards the court uses to determine if third party or de facto custody should be allowed, and the factors that help the court to determine if the standard has been met. So first, let's look at the differences between third party and de facto parents. Generally, a third party can be anyone other than the parent who's seeking custody of the child. The third party usually has a kinship relationship to the child, and doesn't mean that it can't be a person who is not related, but generally, third parties are going to be those persons who are related to the child. De facto custody is where the person is claiming to be a de facto parent and is generally someone other than the parent who has acted as a parent towards the child, meaning the child has lived with that person and has been with that person, and that one or both parents have fostered a relationship between that person and the child that looks like a parent child relationship. A de facto parent may be a third party with kinship towards the child or a non relative who meets legal criteria not required for third party custodians. And that's that criteria I started to allude to earlier, the criteria where one parent has fostered this relationship between between the child and the party who's seeking custody, and that party has stepped in the place of the parent, providing for that child without seeking any type of remuneration, meaning they didn't want to be paid. They weren't doing it for any other reason other than to act as the parent of that child. That's not required for third party custody. However, in both third party custody and de facto custody cases, the parties must be able to overcome the presumption that the child's welfare is best met in the custody of the parents. So that's the standard for third party cases will first require that the third party prove either that the parent or parents, if there are two parents in the situation, are unfit, or that the third party proves that there are exceptional circumstances. Um, Unfit parents is discussed in a previous module. You may want to check out what that means in some of the prior modules that we have, or check out some of our other modules. I do get into that a little bit here, as well as exceptional circumstances. But exceptional circumstances are basically those circumstances that would be able to show that it would be detrimental to the child to change or to do something different than what the third party is asking for, because of such extreme or exceptional circumstances existing. So the third party must first be able to prove unfitness or exceptional circumstances. If they're not able to prove it, then you'll go to the no column. If they are able to prove them, then you'll go to the yes column. So let's look at the yes column first. So if you go to the yes column, after the third party is able to prove that the parents are either unfit or that exceptional circumstances exist, then they are able to move to the next standard, which is the standard that goes between parents. They're able to ask to show the court what is in the best interest of a child. Now, if they don't meet that requirement that they show either the parents are unfit or that exceptional circumstances exist, then they go to that no column, and that means that case does not survive. They can't move forward to pursue custody because they haven't met the standard for a third party custodian, which is required here in the state of Maryland. But if you do meet that requirement, then your next thing is to prove that you have met those best interest factors. And there are some these are some things that I've listed here, that the third party factors that are considered by the court, which may address fitness of the parents in exceptional circumstances. So, fitness of the parents, the court will generally look at the psychological and physical capacity of the parent to care for the children or child, abuse of that child by either parent or parents, domestic violence and abuse between the parents, and neglect of that child. These are just some of the factors the court will use to consider if the parents are fit. Exceptional circumstances and factors, these are again some of the circumstances the court will look at. or some of the factors the court will look at to determine if exceptional circumstances exist. They will look at the length of time the child has been away from the parent, the age of the child when the third party assumed care for that child, the period of time that has lapsed before the parent sought to reclaim the child, the nature and strength of the relationship between the child and the third party, the parent's genuineness and desire to have the child, and the stability and certainty as to the child's future in the custody of the parent. The main thing here in the exceptional circumstances column that you want to take away is that the parent hasn't been involved to a large extent, and that the third party can show that they have been very involved with the child. It doesn't mean that they rise to the level of de facto parent. However, in our next slide or in our next few slides, you will see that de facto parent may qualify to be a um, third party custodian. However, de facto parents go a step further and they actually are seen or have to prove additional factors in order to have a custodian right. So here, moving into the standards for that de facto parenting, which are different from the third party. In addition to the things that we've said about the third party needs to prove that there are exceptional circumstances or that the parents are unfit, and then moving from there, the third party must be able to prove that um, it's in the best interest of the child that that third party have custody rights. In addition to those two standards, the court adds a third standard, which requires four factors be met. So it's a four-factor test the court adds for a de facto parent. These are the four factors here. The parent approved and fostered the formation of a parental relationship between the child and a de facto parent. The de facto parent lived with the child. The de facto parent assumed responsibility for the child's care, well-being, without any expectation of financial compensation, and the de facto parent developed a long lasting, bonded, dependent parental relationship with the child. So you want to look to see if these four factors are met in addition to all the other factors for the third party. So the next slide, we will be doing an overview of or a recap of what we've just said here. So the first standard is for parents. Parents only have to meet a best interest standard in order to prove that they have a greater custodian right than the other parent. So if you're a parent, you only have to meet the best interest standard. If you are a third party, though, before you can get to the best interest standard, you still have to prove that best interest standard. But before the court will even hear you on best interest, the court must first be able to see that you can show that one or both parents are unfit or some kind of exceptional circumstance exists. And an exceptional circumstance may exist where both parents are in agreement that you should have custody. That's still an exceptional circumstance, which I didn't identify in the previous slides. So there may be other options to get exceptional circumstances other than those that have been identified previously. But for a third party, you have to prove that unfitness of the parent or exceptional circumstances plus the best interest standard. Now, if you're trying to be a de facto parents are in fact parents because they've been made parents by the parents de facto. They are in fact the parent based on the situation. But now these have three sets of standards that must be met for that de facto. First, they must meet these additional four factors that we talked about in the earlier slide. In addition to that, they must show that one or both parents are unfit or that exceptional circumstances exist, and that what they're requesting as far as custody is related is in the best interest of the child. So each level or the deference here you can see is definitely given to the parents, and each level requires more standards to be met. So the third party has to meet two sets of standards, de facto parent meets three sets of standards, but the actual parent, biological or adoptive parent, will only need to meet the best interest standard. So this has been a quick overview of the differences between third party and de facto parenting. If you feel like you might be a third party or a de facto parent and you need additional information, we are Family First Legal. We're here to help. And if you would like a free consultation, give us a call at 240-734-1024, or check us out on the web at www.fflmd.com. And you'll want to go to our contact us page if you're wanting to schedule your free consultation online. Thank you for your participation and good luck with your endeavors.